Do you like crime thrillers, romance, family feuds, or books that makes you feel as if you're watching a movie? Suspense and cringe writer author Wrice Sr. gives readers something to discuss with their friends. Check out his website at www.jricesenior.com. That's www.jwricesr.com. On his website, you can purchase his books and subscribe to get his newsletter. You can also win a free gift. Welcome to the creative mind of author Wrice Sr. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Sip and Read with Martinique. I'm your host, Martinique Brown, and this is actually a virtual book club. I'm so excited that you have decided to join us today. Today and the previous Tuesdays, we've actually been talking about a book called Girl Boss. So today we're actually talking about chapters 7 and 8. If this is your first time ever tuning into the show, thank you so much for just taking time out your busy schedule to learn more about this book by Sophia Amoruso called Girl Boss. If you need to catch up on any of your episodes, make sure you go ahead and visit that description box because it has my YouTube link, which has all of the previous episodes of the previous chapters that we've discussed. Also, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Martinique the Storyteller. If we're not friends already on Facebook, make sure that you send me a friend request so you can always be notified of the new shows that I post, as well as when I'm looking for individuals for my different shows. Hey, Hope, how are you doing? So if you are tuning into the show right now, make sure you go ahead and share this video now. Sharing is caring. Did you know that? But make sure you go ahead and share this video now so that more individuals have a better understanding of Sophia Amoruso's book, as well as these two chapters that we'll be discussing. Hey, Taekwon. So another way that we make this show a lot more interactive and entertaining is if you go ahead and ask questions or post comments, and then we'll talk about those things. And like I said, it'll make it a lot more interactive. So, like I said, we're going to go ahead and talk about chapters 7 and 8. So the title of Chapter 7 is I Am the Antifashion. And she actually opens up with a quote from Dr. Seuss. It says, "Why fit in when you were born to stand out?" And remember, we're talking about chapter 8 as well. So that title is on hiring, staying employed, and firing. So specifically chapter 7, she begins this chapter with just talking about introverts and extroverts. And she actually helps readers see the differences of the characteristics depending on specifically talking to business owners. So she does point out that she is an introvert. And one of the differences that she actually points out is introverts get their energy from being around a lot of people, and then extroverts, they actually feel drained when they're around a large group of people, and they really just have to take that time out by themselves to really just re-energize. Now, me personally, I think as I've gotten older that I think I'm an introvert. But I also believe that I'm an extrovert. It depends on who I'm around. That I think that these things change, these traits change in me. But what do y'all think? are you an introvert or are you an extrovert? And specifically for business owners that's watching the show, what are the pros and cons of having that specific characteristic trait? So if you could go ahead and let me know in the comment field, and we can talk about that as well. So a notable quote from the book called Quiet, and this book is actually by an author called named Susan Cain, is the zero correlation between being the best talker. No, I'm sorry. Let me start that over. So she says there's zero correlation between being the best talker and having the best ideas. And with that quote, and I'm going to read that quote again. So Susan Cain, from the book called Quiet, she says there's zero correlation between being the best talker and having the best ideas. And I do believe that, because there are some very intelligent, shy, quiet introverts, things like that. But sometimes I'm just wondering, and if you're an introvert watching this, when do you go ahead and express that idea that you have? Do you have to build yourself up in order to share that idea? Or is it just a matter of you have a good idea and you go ahead and share it? And then, another thing that Susan is pointing out is not all the extroverts, have that confidence and, have the best ideas, but a lot of times they're the first individuals, or they're the first character trait to actually speak up and express themselves or express their ideas. So I just thought that was interesting. So the next subsection that Sophia talks about is failure. And she actually says when she posted a picture of an item from Nasty Gal, and no one was actually purchasing that item. So now, if you haven't been following the show, if you haven't been following this book, Sophia Amoruso has built a $28 million business in selling vintage clothing. And so she started finding vintage clothes in thrift stores, and then she would sell them on eBay. And that's how initially she got started with this business. So with Nasty Gal, when nobody was purchasing a particular item that she posted a picture of, she did not just say, okay, nobody wants to purchase this dress. What she did was thought of a different way that she could market this item. So she would do things such as maybe shoot the item at a different angle, rewrite the product description, or, like I said, just change the thumbnail picture. And I just thought that was a good point that she made. And one of her key statements that she said about that was, I never assumed that I just done my best job the first time around. And so when I read that statement, I really realized that just because you spend more time in completing a task, that does not mean that that's your best work. I know that I associate how much time I spent doing something with my best work. And that's really not the truth, because honestly, when I'm creating a new show, I have to really just take time to brainstorm, how I want the show to be structured, as well as how, I want the flow of the show to be, and really just laying out the purpose of this particular new show. And so remember, I'm just doing the foundation of the show, but it has not been executed to an audience yet. And so although I may think, oh man, this is a great idea, I do want individuals to enjoy what they're watching. And so with that, I think it's just mindful that we remember not to toss the entire idea that we have out the window and start from scratch, but maybe you just need to retweak or, just switch up a little bit, your idea, just so that maybe it will draw in the audience that you're looking for. And so I just thought that that was something that we need to be mindful of, because like I said, you lay in that groundwork, but there's constantly things that may need to be improved upon that product or service in order for it to continue to be great. And so another thing that we have to be mindful of, we have to be mindful to listen to our customers. And so we can't get offended when somebody gives a suggestion on something that we could possibly do, because it might work. So with my business spotlight with Martinique, my focus is to promote the product and services of business owners and entrepreneurs. And so with that, I first started that show as just a 2-minute promo for business owners. And, I would actually feature the guests and show a little bit of their product or service. So that's how I started the show. And then I began to message and reach out to business owners. And I decided that I wanted to actually make this a interview with the entrepreneurs, so that individuals can have a better, or viewers can have a better understanding why this business owner created this product or service, who this entrepreneur is. So as viewers, we can feel more connected to that individual, and that will hopefully help individuals purchase their product or service. And so, like I said, it started off as 2 minutes, but it has grown to 30 to 40-minute show. And I really enjoy doing it like that, just so a viewer of Business Spotlight can have a better understanding of who this entrepreneur is. And so one of the things that I was doing when it was just a 2-minute promo, I went around to different stores in a plaza to ask them if they were interested in being featured on the show. And many times I wasn't getting the individual who made those decisions if this is something that they could partake in or not. And so I spent all of that time canvassing and going around to these different stores, when I really realized that I was bringing in more guests reaching out to individuals on social media. And so that's why it's so important not to just toss your entire idea out the window. Sometimes you have to, but not to toss your entire idea out the window, but just tweak some things, and it will just make a much, I don't want to say a much, but it will just make a big difference in that. So Sophia's challenge to us as girl or boy bosses is to dive headfirst into things without being too attracted to the results. Because remember, she's talking about failure right now, and plenty of times as a business owner, you are going to fail. And so she doesn't want that to discourage individuals that are thinking about starting their own business, but she just wants you to just go ahead and do it, and I just think that that's great advice, because I feel that people think about things so much that it can turn into a year and they still haven't started what they have a desire to do. And that really just holds us back. And so I know specifically with my shows, I never had a problem We just go ahead and execute it. So there's things that you all have changed. If you follow me from the very beginning, when I started my shows in October of 2018. In the beginning, I didn't have any intro music. When I had guests on the show, I didn't, my digital flyers were different. And so you only learn the things that you need to change when you go ahead and execute that idea. And it can only just get better and better, because it's just naturally that you're not going to get worse, and unless you just no longer care about what you're producing. Now that's when it's going to get worse. But if you are disciplined, if you believe in what you have created and what you are allowing the world to now see, then it's going to get better and better and better, because people do give their critiques. I know that sometimes we don't always want them, but I know one of the critiques that I had in my beginning video was, Martinique, why are you so dark on camera? And that's because I was only using the regular lighting from my apartment, and so it was recommended to me that I get floodlights. And so I went ahead and I got those lights. And that's what I'm saying. People are just naturally going to give their critiques. And some of the things you do toss out, but some of the things you can actually utilize in your business to help you be more professional, as well as to help your business grow and become better. So just keep that in mind. Don't give up, and don't talk yourself out of starting something, because that's the hardest part. Starting and being consistent. I think those are the two of the hardest things that I found. Do you like crime thrillers, romance, family feuds, or books that makes you feel as if you're watching a movie? Suspense and cringe writer author Wrice Sr. gives readers something to discuss with their friends. Check out his website at www.jricesr.com. That's www.jwricesr.com. On his website, you can purchase his books and subscribe to get his newsletter. You can also win a free gift. Welcome to the creative mind of author Wrice Sr. Fam. So she also says, so one of the questions that I wanted to ask you all, is that possible for future business owners who's watching? Is it possible for you? Do you feel that it's possible for you to go ahead and dive head first into the things that you are interested in starting, without being too attached with the results, without being too focused on, okay, well, if this doesn't work out, then, that was a stupid idea. Sophia is saying, don't be attached to the results. Just go ahead and start it. So lastly, in regards to failure, Sophia says, when your goal is to gain experience, perspective, and knowledge, failure is no longer a possibility. Failure is your invention. I don't really like, okay. So that's what she said. She says that when your goal is to gain experience, perspective, and knowledge, failure is no longer a possibility. Failure is your invention. I really didn't like the word invention that she used right there. So I actually replaced it with failure is just a stepping stone to success. So, like I said, failure is a success. Failure is a stepping stone to your success. And I think that when we do run into something that does not work, we do give up on it. And that's why we don't have more successful businesses, because the first time that, or the 18th time that you hit failure, you just throw in the towel. But what if it takes you 100 failures in order to be at that pinnacle where you want your business to be? And what if you give up on failure 99? And so I just think that we have to begin to look at things like that. One of the things that really drives me when getting started with something is I look at, if I've thought of something in, let's say, March of 2018, and I don't implement it until June 2020, I think about those years and months that I missed, that my company or my idea could be growing, where it could be in June of 2020, as opposed to just being at ground zero at June 2020. And so that's one of the things that really just motivates me to just keep going and stay focused, and not to just throw in the towel and just give up. So you let me know, what do you use as a motivator in order to continue to press forward when things aren't going right for you? So let me know. Post it in the comment field for me. So in another section of Chapter 7, Sophia shares how surreal it felt to be the boss of over 200 people. From the people she met that had MBAs, she had to learn how to stop feeling as if she didn't belong anywhere and realize that she belonged anywhere she wanted to be. And so I want to ask you all that, do you all ever feel that you don't belong somewhere? Is there ever a time when you are maybe at a networking event and maybe you didn't go to college and you found out that a lot of the attendees went to college? Do you ever feel that you don't belong? Or do you ever feel that you don't belong somewhere because maybe your company is only making $500 a month, but you are talking to or listening to a person that business makes $5,000 a month? How does that make you feel? And one of the things that Sophia mentioned in regards to not feeling like she belongs is actually from page 139. So she actually says, I learned not to be shy about stopping someone in the middle of a presentation to ask him to please clarify something because I don't know what he's talking about. So now she's specifically talking about when she has one of her group meetings at the job, and she'll have all 200 employees at this staff meeting. So she says, I've learned not to be shy about stopping someone in the middle of a presentation to ask him to please clarify something because I don't know what he's talking about. If I still don't get it, I'll tell him so and ask him to explain it again. Sometimes I can practically hear the eyes rolling around, but given that I'm making decisions that involve so much money and so many people, I can't afford to pretend I know what's up. When you run a company the size of mine, you're not the only one who ends up paying for your mistakes. I could act like a CEO, or I could really be a CEO, which meant doing whatever I needed to do, including asking obvious questions to make the best decisions for my company. No matter where you are in life, you'll save a lot of time by not worrying too much about what other people think about you. The earlier in your life that you can learn that, the easier the rest of it will be. Who who you is and who's wait. So she said, who is you is, so get used to it. So I think that that's one of the things. Hi Twill. So I think that that's one of the things that we need to really think about, because I found myself in that situation so many times where, I was with among a group of people where I really didn't understand, what they were saying, but I felt like I didn't want them to know that I didn't understand, so I didn't even ask a additional question. And so I think that we need to really just, well, I'm not even going to say we, because that might not even be a problem of yours. But I know I personally need to not care what individuals think, but ask for that clarity when I don't understand something, so that I can possibly answer appropriately, in those situations. So I thought that that was really good that she pointed out. And I feel like that also shows us a little bit more about who Sophia is as an individual. And I actually missed something. Let me say. So these are my notes. I gotta look at what I missed. I missed reading. So I missed reading something to you. Oh, okay. So let me read this to you right quick. So in regards to introverts and extroverts, what I talked to in the beginning, Sophia actually says, in business, a disproportionate amount of importance is placed on the ability to network. If you don't thrive on going out and meeting a million people, you might end up feeling that you have less of a chance of getting ahead in your career. And I know that I don't mind going to networking events. Sometimes I just don't feel like it. But I'm telling you, I went to this past networking event and I got a client from it. And so I think that it's really mindful that the business cards that we collect, make sure you go ahead and do that follow up email to them. But specifically, Sophia was talking about, if you are an introvert, don't feel bad about being an introvert and being successful in your business, because you can, like she said, she's an introvert. So you can still be successful and be an introvert. But you may have to do a couple of more things in order to really get yourself prepared to put yourself out there when it comes to those interactions with individuals. That's just what I'm thinking. Now, if you're an introvert and you watch it and you have no problem with that, just let me know. Just say, Martinique, that has nothing to do with being an introvert. But I know that sometimes I have to really pump myself up in order to go talk to somebody, or maybe let them know a little bit more about myself and my business and things like that. So that's something that I have to do. And maybe it's different for you. It might be. So I know that I had just talked about, Sophia was just saying, no matter where you are in life, you'll save a lot of time by not worrying too much about what other people think about you. So do you ever feel like that? Do you ever feel that that you really have to just push through those feelings and, push yourself to the point where I'm going to get this done and I don't care what people think, because I know that there's plenty of times where I've been asked, like, okay, well, how did you get interested in hosting and producing videos, and things like that? And sometimes you can see the expression on people's face. They're like, Okay. But this is something that I enjoy doing, especially like my book club. I really enjoy doing this. And I just think I enjoy doing it because I enjoy reading books. And I also enjoy sharing that knowledge from these books so that individuals can make a better decision if this is a book that they want to take time to read. Because remember, I'm just giving you a summary of the book, but you really get the gist and the details of the book by reading the book yourself. So if you're interested in purchasing Girl Boss, make sure you go ahead and visit the description box because that actually has a link where you can purchase the book from. So now let's talk about chapter 8. So chapter 8 is titled Hiring, Staying Employed, and Firing. So Sophia actually starts this chapter with hiring. She says, getting hired at a job isn't like dating. So don't play hard to get. The employer doesn't have time to court you, and it is up to you to romance them so you can actually get that job. So Sophia, again, she just talks about, throughout this section of hiring, she talks about cover letters. She opens up with a section from a quote from Leonardo da Vinci, and it says, "It had long since come to my attention that people of accomplishment rarely sat back and let things happen to them. They went out and happened to things." And so I'm going to make a confession to you guys. So if you watch my shows before, you know that I am actually a Christian. And I think that there were times when I believed that, okay, well, God is just going to do this for me. And I still do believe that. But I also believe that I need to go out there and execute things as well. And God is either going to allow that thing to happen, or maybe he'll redirect me to something else that he wants me to do. And so I'm just thinking about what Pastor Evan says. Pastor Evan talked about how, an individual can say, "Oh, God, bless me with a job, bless me with a job," while they're sitting on the couch and not applying for any jobs. And so we have that faith, but faith also has action. And so that's why I really wanted to point out this quote from Leonardo da Vinci, because, it's not about just letting things happen to you, but with my faith that I have, I need to be trusting in God and implementing those things that I've asked God to bless. That's just like me moving here to Florida. I said, God, I just pray that you bless me with my trip to Florida, because I didn't have a job or anything like that, but I knew I wanted to live out here. So I just took a leap of faith. I just moved out here and I said, God, you blessed me with a job. You've blessed me with jobs before, and I know you can do it. And it was just a matter of faith, like I said. And it was just also, if he did not give me a job, then maybe this was not the place for me. And like I said, I'm applying for jobs. And this was at that time. I was applying for jobs. But let's say that he never gave me a job. God knows that I need a job. And then that's when I will begin asking God, okay, God, where do you want me to go? Where is another place that you want me to go? And so I just think that we need to be mindful of those things and just not sitting back and just letting anything happen to us, but to just go out there and see what happens when you begin to take charge of your life. And so with this chapter, staying with, I'm going to be honest with you, I really I really didn't feel like this chapter was necessary for me, because I've already been through that time in my life where applying for jobs and writing cover letters and things like that. So it was a good chapter for individuals that need to either go into the work field, or individuals that has decided to possibly apply for another job that they believe that they'll be happy in. So, like I said, um, goes more into detail about, the mistakes in the mistakes to avoid in writing a cover letter, the purpose of your resume and how to write one, and how to really just keep your job and move up in that job and in that company. And lastly, she talks about the aspects of firing as an employer. So I just thought it was interesting to read those things, but I didn't feel that I needed those things and when I say I don't need those things, meaning I didn't feel like I needed to write it down so I could always remember those things, because I pretty much knew those things. I'm not a spring chicken, but there's nothing wrong with a refresher, but I didn't need it. So, like I said, it was good that she wrote that in there, but like I said, it wasn't something that I needed for myself. So that's pretty much the end of chapter 8. So if you don't know this, we are coming to a close with this book. We actually have one more week left. So next week we'll be talking about chapters 9 through 11. And we have to start voting on a new book to feature. So it's in the description box, the 2 books that I'm interested in featuring. So the one book is called The Millionaire Next Door, and the second book is called Me Incorporated by Gene Simmons. Now, Gene Simmons is the guy that was in the band called Kiss. And The Millionaire Next Door is such a good book because it really gives you the mindset and the thinking of millionaires so that you can begin implementing some of the things in their life that they do in order to help you become financially successful. It is really, I'm telling you, it is such a good book. I actually read it as when I was at work because I would just do a mundane, job, just typing. So just doing data entry. So with that, I decided to listen to audiobooks more. And that was one of the books that I listened to. It is such a good book. Now, this second book, Me Incorporated by Gene Simmons. And eventually we are going to read both of these books. But it's just we just talked about what's the next book. So Taekwon, go ahead and give your vote on what you feel like the next book should be. So Me Incorporated is a good book because it focuses on how to brand yourself, how to make you a company, how to make you a successful company. And the reason why I like this book is because we know Gene Simmons as the musician, but Gene has ventured and became successful in so many different industries. And I just think that is so amazing. You may have so many different ideas or want to be a part of so many different things that sometimes you may even question yourself, like, why you cannot be successful in all of these things. And I think that's something that I actually tell myself. But in reading a book like this, you do see how it's possible, because he just really just goes out there. He teaches himself, one, that's a really good trait. He teaches himself about these things, and then he goes out there and he makes it happen. And this is such a good book. So another person that I think about when branding yourself in different industries and being successful, I think about, what is his name? Mike Strahan. I think that's his name. But the football player. So he was a football player, and now he has become the face of different shows. And I just think that's amazing. You know, he is known for one thing. He was skilled in one thing, but now he is skilled and successful at multiple things. He's interviewing people. He's the host of talk shows. It's no stopping him. And that's what Gene is really talking about and really helping us to learn how to do. So you cast your vote. You say Millionaire Next Door or Me Incorporated. So that's going to be our next book. And we'll actually be starting that book on the 21st of May. So make sure you go ahead and share this video now. Make sure that you also subscribe to my YouTube channel and send me a friend request if we're not friends already on YouTube. If you truly enjoy the shows that I produce, make sure you give a financial gift in any amount. It is a blessing to me. You can do it through CashApp, or you can do it on my GoFundMe page. All of my contact information and my links are in the description box. So make sure that you go ahead and visit those. And I hope you guys have a great night. Bye-bye.